Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to look at another way of solving quadratic equations besides factoring and what we did last time, square roots. Okay, so this example is going to get us into what completing the square means. So suppose we want to solve the equation x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 9 without rearranging, meaning we're not going to put it in standard form. So normally we subtract that 9, but we're not going to here. So first thing we want to do is factor the left side. So if we look at products of 16, so we got 16 times 1, 8 times 2, and 4 and 4. Okay, and the pair we're going to use is 4 and 4 because that will make the 8 as well as the 16. So it's going to, everything is positive here. So this is going to factor as x plus 4 times x plus 4. Okay. Now, we can rewrite the factors as, well, what I'm getting at here is we have x plus 4 multiplied by itself, so that's going to be x plus 4 squared, okay? And this is what we mean by the square, because this is considered a perfect square, all right? When we have some quantity, in this case, x plus 4 squared, okay? All right, so now we have x plus 4 squared equals 9, and then we can solve by square root. So we can take the square root of both sides. Remember, when we take the square root of what's on the right, we need a plus minus sign. So it's going to give us x plus 4 equals plus or minus 3. So x is going to be plus or minus 3 minus 4. So x is going to be, if we consider the positive case, positive 3 minus 4 is negative 1. In the negative case, negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. Okay? So this is x squared plus 8x plus 16 is is an example where something does factor into perfect squares. What we're doing in completing the square is using a trick to make the expression factor as a perfect square. And here's how that's going to work. Oh, and we forgot to fill in over here. This is an example of a perfect square. Okay. So to complete the square for ax squared plus bx plus c, so just something x squared plus something x plus some constant, find half the coefficient of the b term. Okay? And then square the value you found above. So let's start doing this with example 1. Fill in the blank with a number to make the expression a perfect square. So a, we have w here, but let's just pretend it's x. Ax squared plus bx plus c, and c is the missing one we want. So we're going to find half of the coefficient of the b term. 1/2 b is equal to 5, because b is 10. All right, and then we're going to square that. So we're going to do 5 squared equals 25. So the number that belongs here is 25. Okay. And we're just going to use these first 2 steps for the first examples. And then we're going to need the rest of these steps for actually using completing square to solve an equation. Okay, fill in the blank with the number needed to make the expression a perfect square. So we're going to find half of this term. So 1/2 b would be half of negative 14. So that's negative 7. And then negative 7 squared is positive 49. So a 49 would go in there. Okay, now let's look at how to actually solve an equation using completing the square. Okay, so we have x squared plus 4x minus 11 equals 0. Okay, So we're going to come back to what we did in those first two questions in a minute, but first we want to move any constant terms to the right side. So I want to rewrite this. I'm going to move the 11 over. I'm going to move that to the right. So we have x squared plus 4x equals 11. Okay. And then we want to find the value. Notice that the constant term is missing here. We have ax squared plus bx, and c is missing. Let's find c by doing what we did in the first two questions. So 1/2 b is half of 4, 2, and then 2 squared is 4. So the number we're going to have to add in, I'm just going to erase this, is going to be 4, okay? And we don't magically just add in that 4. If I add it on the left, we're also going to add it on the right. Okay, let's fill that in our steps. So we're going to add the value you found above to both sides. We added the 4 to the left side and to the right side. Now, the whole point of doing that is we're going to factor x squared plus 4x plus 4. When you do that, that's going to be x plus 2 times x plus 2. And of course, the right side is going to be 15. Now we know this is really x plus 2 squared equals 15. Let's fill that in. Okay, so factor the left side and then express as a perfect square. By perfect square, we mean this. Now, how are we going to solve this? Well, we're going to take square roots of both sides. We do square root x plus 2 squared equals, remember we need that plus minus square root of 15. So let's fill that in up here. Square root each side. Use calculator if directions indicate nearest tenth. Okay, so now we're ready to solve. We have x plus 2 equals plus or minus square root of 15. And I'm just going to subtract 2 from both sides. So x is going to be negative 2 plus or minus square root 15, which will break down into two parts. So we have negative 2 plus square root of 15, negative 2 minus square root of 15. Okay, and then you're going to need the calculator to get the square root of 15. So square root of 15 is 3.87. So negative 2 plus 3.87, negative 2 minus 3.87. So that's going to be 1.87 and negative 5.87. Okay, so to fill, we would obviously put that in here. And then for the form, that's where what we have over here. So it'd be, we check this box, x plus 2 squared equals 15. All right, let's try another one. So we have x squared minus 12x plus 30 equals 0. Again, you want to move that constant to the other side. X squared minus 12x equals negative 30. Okay, now we have it in the form we need. Let's complete the square. So we're going to take half of the middle term, half b, that's going to be negative 6. Negative 6 squared is 36, meaning we're going to add 36 to both sides. So we have x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals 6. Okay, when we factor, this is going to be x minus 6 times x minus 6, which of course is going to give me x minus 6 squared equals 6. So we can go ahead and fill in that part. So the form is this one with the minus, x minus 6 squared equals 6. Okay, now let's actually solve. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Okay, so x minus 6 equals plus or minus square root 6. X equals 6 plus or minus square root 6. And let's get the square root of 6 from our calculator. Square root of 6, 2.45. So that's going to be 6 plus 2.45 and 6 minus 2.45, which would be 8.45 and 3.55.